Join us. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this opportunity to come and serve the good people of Wakulla County. I just ask that you bless us here tonight. Grant us wisdom, God, to make the decisions we need to make tonight for the betterment of our county. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We've got several opportunities for you to speak. We've got two different citizens to be heard, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end. You can speak at either one of those. You can also speak on each individual agenda item. Please fill out a speaker card with Miss Patty for each item that you'd like to speak on. When you come up, please speak into the microphone so the folks at home can hear you as well. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
On the consent part of it, I will pull number 9.
Number 9. I'm going to pull number 10 just briefly.
Motion to approve the agenda is modified.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right. We'll start out with citizens to be heard. We have Nate McKinley. Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity for you to hear me tonight. I'm here representing Gordemoller Engineering. We are a civil engineering firm located in Panama City Beach.
Go ahead, speak into that microphone.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce our firm and the services we offer to Wakulla County and the commissioners. We are a FDOT pre-qualified small business firm, as well as pre-qualified for roadway design and construction engineering inspection, CEI. We have done some projects for FDOT here in Wakulla County. We did 12 miles of shared use path down on Crawfordville Highway, as well as 7-mile resurfacing through here on 319. So really, I just wanted to take this opportunity, introduce our firm to y'all, let you see our design portfolio, and ask if you had any questions, and let you know that we look forward to pursuing opportunities that Wakulla County has.
I have a question, basically.
Yes,
I
sir.
was talking about this today, I believe, maybe something like this. Do you folks go out and solicit grants?
We can. Yes, sir.
You can, but do you? Let's say that you know that we're going to be doing some projects or something.
Yeah, we keep an eye on the grant opportunities. Right now, we know for a fact that the Federal Highway Administration has multiple grant opportunities for projects that are within certain entities that provide access to federal lands. So a county like Wakulla County could apply for a access grant to improve roads or bridges that lead to national forests, state parks, things like that. We've been looking at some of those
Do
grant
you
opportunities.
do the same thing that Pebble Ridge may do?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Where is your firm located?
We're in Panama City Beach.
Okay. How big is your firm?
We have 13 full-time employees and 3 interns right now.
Are you doing business with counties in this general area?
Well, our primary client is the Florida Department of Transportation. And like I said, we have done projects. We are currently working on a design project in Wakulla County right now, as well as pursuing some construction engineering CEI work for the Midway office just out of Tallahassee.
So you primarily work with the FDOT?
Yeah, but we've expanded our services to include local cities and counties, just, to help everybody support the workload that y'all got coming out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, that ends our citizens to be heard. We'll move into awards and presentation. We'll hear from Miss Deborah Moore with the Guardian Ad Litem program. Welcome.
Welcome, Wakulla News. That's the tradition we have.
I have packets of information for each of you. and I am the director of the Guardian Ad Litem program in the Second Judicial Circuit. I've been with the program almost 20 years, and I am way overdue for coming and visiting with you all, and plan to visit with you more frequently to keep you updated on all the great things that we're doing for children in Wakulla County. Our program office is in the Court Annex building in Tallahassee. We cover 6 counties, including Wakulla County. Leon County is where our main office is, and the majority of the children that we serve, but Wakulla County is our second county in terms of the number of children that we support. The Guardian Ad Litem program is a statewide program. Actually, we're known as CASAs, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, in other parts of the country, but here in Florida, we're known as Guardian Ad Litem. And the model is a wonderful model in that our staff, our attorneys, and our child advocate managers, our social work case managers, join with individuals in the community to support the best interest of children who have been abused and neglected. So we're appointed by the judges in the county, in each of the counties, and then we assign an advocate for the child. From there, we do everything we possibly can do to make sure that the child's needs are being met. Our concern recently, and what has motivated me to meet with Commissioner Stewart and asked to be on the agenda, and I just met with Superintendent this morning, is so that I can develop the relationships, the communication, and we can continue to work together to make things better for the children coming into our program. And we've seen an increase in the children coming in. So it has prompted me to promote awareness of what we're doing, and also to promote needing more advocates. We are only as strong as the advocates that we can assign to each of the children. We pride ourselves on that each of the children has their own advocate, their own person that visits with them, that gathers information about what their needs are, communicates with teachers, makes sure that they're getting the therapy that they need, make sure that the caregivers that are taking care of them have their needs met. So it is a really important role that our advocates have, and they join with us, with our attorneys, and with our other staff, as I mentioned, to go into court and help the judge to know what we feel like is in the child's best interest. We need more advocates in each of the counties that we serve. Currently in Wakulla County, we have about 12 active advocates, but we have increased the number of children up to almost 35 children right now. So in August and September, we had a total of about 7 come into our program, and that's usually how many we have in over 6 months in this county. So it is increasing, but we're seeing that all over the state, and I think for various reasons. But I want to make sure that no matter how many come in, that we have an advocate there for them, and helping us to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do. I mentioned about the academic needs. We have a special training for our advocates to make sure that we are talking with teachers, that we're talking with administrators, that we're helping to catch the children up, because most of the time, probably 90% of the time, the children, because of what they've been experiencing, are way behind in school. They are not progressing well, and we have a limited time that we're involved, up to a year. So we get very busy in collaborating with teachers, and so we want to strengthen that relationship, and I'm going to speak to the principals next month and address them, and help to make sure that we're connecting with them in every possible way. Sometimes it's as important to make sure the children have warm clothes, to make sure that the relatives who are caring for them have enough food. There's all kinds of things that we do and that we pay attention to, and that we feel like that each child needs from us to be healthy. Our children are newborns. up to 21 years of age. Youth can stay in foster care now with a new law that changed past 18. Our average age in Wakulla County is the middle school age. The additional concern, and then I'll finish up and maybe you might have some questions for me, is that we're not only seeing more children come in, but the situations the children have been experiencing, the abuse and neglect is more intense. It is worse now than ever. So it is really critical that programs like ours are assessing what those needs are, making sure that they're getting those services as quickly as possible. But there's a significant amount of domestic violence that children are being exposed to, and substance abuse, and resulting serious, horrendous neglect and abuse. So we have our work cut out for us, but we worked very hard to hopefully help you be proud of this program and what we can provide to children in the community. We're going to continue some very aggressive marketing and communication efforts in the next couple of months. So you'll see hopefully articles in the paper, lots of interaction with individuals in the community and businesses to gain that support for what we're trying to do.
You have a very good last name.
I do, yes, I definitely do.
How about, what are the criteria for an advocate?
For an advocate?
Yes.
Well, one of the first things we always make sure about is that individuals love children and love being around them, because our advocates must visit in the home, and most of the children here in Wakulla County have been placed with relatives if they've had to be removed from their biological parent or parents. Some are in foster homes, but most have gone to relatives. So it's very important that individuals enjoy interacting with the children and enjoy being around them, and can develop that communication relationship.
Is it sort of like a big brother, big sister type?
It's somewhat like that, but and many of our guardians do serve as mentors, and that's in a very important relationship. But our primary role is to be an advocate for them, is to speak up for them and make sure that their needs are being met. So we do a lot of things that a parent would do. We contact teachers, we follow up with them if the children are having problems, if they need clothes, if they need school supplies, we make sure all of that is done. We talk with their therapists on a regular basis to make sure that they're progressing in that therapy, or help the judge know if some adjustments need to be made to the services that parents are receiving and things like that. There are some very critical decisions that are made in court, and so it is important that guardians be able to come to court. We don't go to court every month on each case, but it is something that's important. So having that flexibility to be able to be in court, and our judges see our advocates that are representing the children and be there as part of our team is important. We have a training for all of our guardians, very comprehensive, but it's very good, and goes over things like our court orders that give us authority to visit with the children and gather information. And one of the other things that's really important for me is being able to work with the other team members, the other attorney and child advocate manager, and the three are the actual supporters for that child. So there's some of the qualities.
You mentioned guardian and then you mentioned advocate. Is the guardian and the advocate the same person?
Exactly. Guardian ad litem advocate, guardian ad litem volunteer.
So
yes.
they're basically the same person
Yes.
then? Okay.
Yes.
And you mentioned to me the other day that y'all have just not to scare people away when you're talking about clothing and stuff they need in school, that you had a fund that we could draw from.
We do, yes. So that is not the advocate's responsibility to provide those things. and we don't personally care for the children. Our responsibility is to visit them where they have been placed by the Department of Children and Families. But the funds that you mentioned, every guardian ad litem program in the state has the support of a 501c3. And ours just changed their name to Guardian ad litem Foundation Second Circuit. And they are a small board, mostly of our advocates, and they do fundraising and promote the program and the financial needs of the children. So whenever we identify that a child's grandmother might need help with food, especially when the children are first placed there, some of our relatives end up with, all of a sudden one night, with 4, 5, 6 children, and the expenses are significant for them, and we want to make sure that they receive that support. So those funds are critical. We help with a lot of things connected with normalcy. So if children want to participate in after-school activities or sporting activities, that we promote that and support that and pay for those things if that's necessary. But we buy a lot of clothes and a lot of shoes.
Well, she convinced me that my wife and I are going to volunteer to do it, and I would challenge anybody that's listening in the public that has time to devote to helping kids who need, just another hand. I mean, when she sits down and talks to you about it individually, I hope she'll get to talk to all of you. You really understand what the program's about. It sounds like it can be a moving experience for anybody who wants to deal with children and try to help them better themselves. So we're going to do it. I'm still waiting to hear from the recruiter, but we'd love to do it. Libby said she'd like to do it in in Liberty County, so
Wonderful.
That would work fine.
Excellent. And I'm sorry, I went back and said they're going to follow up with you, and so I will make sure
Please.
that you hear from Sarah right away.
You give us a card here, but can you tell us if somebody wants to do this, how they go about it? I don't know if I heard you say that. Just briefly tell us.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes. So everyone that's behind me that's thinking about this now, our website is an excellent resource and has our volunteer application, which is the first step, and it's www.gal2.org, and it is on my card. I am absolutely happy to connect anyone that wants to follow up with me at the program office with our volunteer recruiter, who can sit down with everyone individually and just make sure it's a good fit and answer any questions. And we train every month in the Tallahassee office. We're getting ready to do a couple orientations in Franklin County because we need guardians there desperately as well. But that is the first step, is to go on the website, look at all the information, or call me and I'll talk as long as you want to listen about everything. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Other questions, comments?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move consent.
We have a motion for consent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Here we go, Jerry.
All right. Jerry, item number 9.
Okay, we seem to have a little bit of controversy on number 9, and what I'd like to just suggest to everybody is that maybe you get back together and see if you can work out a solution that's happy with both parties. I think John has got something to say a little later. Could John bring his
You want a
statement?
motion on the
Let's
floor
get
to
a
continue
motion.
this?
Let's get a motion second.
9?
Is there a second?
We don't have a motion or
I
a
didn't make a
second yet.
motion.
Well, I'd just like to make a motion then that John and David get together and see if they can work this out.
So you want to table it for tonight?
Well,
Just table it for tonight.
or
No,
we're always going to schedule advertise, and we can always push back the next step. It'd be nice to be able to move forward as first
Okay,
step.
you can do that, yeah.
So you're making the motion to approve the advertise?
Yes.
Second.
Got a motion second. We'll hear from the citizens. Mr. John Shuff.
How y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Evening.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all tonight. Yeah, we always there's a little trouble with communicating, but no matter who you're talking to, when you're talking to them, and a lot of times on the phone that happens. But I just would like to point out a couple of things that we feel like we've been pretty good stewards of the old courthouse. There was a number of questions today about how much we spent on maintenance on the building in the past years, and our CPA and treasurer, Jessica Revel, put some numbers together for us today. In 2012, we spent a little over $7,000 on window treatments on the building. 2013, minor pressure wash, $1,500. 2015, we replaced the exterior doors on the building, cost about $4,700. 2015, we insulated part of the floor just to make it's a really beautiful old building, and we really like it, but it's not a comfortable building to live and work in. And we're not sure how it's going to be for holding events, and which is some concern about what we're talking about here tonight. And again, in 2016, we pressure washed the building, and we're looking forward to about a $7,000 or $8,000 paint job here in the near future. None of this has gone through the county. This is stuff that we pay for. It's kind of like part of what we pay for our lease on that building. When we renovated the building back in 2008, we spent 10 years accumulating money. I personally, and Cheryl Brown personally, have hundreds, and it may even reach to the next digit of hours of volunteer work, writing grants and getting turned down and writing them again and writing. I was talking with Ralph there. You had to roll them in on a hand truck, 16 copies. But we eventually raised about $700,000 in grants. We put $150,000 or so of our own money. The county, you guys put in about $50,000 or $60,000, and we ended up spending $1,010,410.97 renovating that building. So I think we've been pretty good stewards on the building, and hopefully soon here we'll get the mullet back up. We do have it. It's in our possession. That we had a real bad lightning storm here a few months back, and and I haven't figured out why. We bought a 3/4 inch thick steel pin for a weather vane, complete with little set screws and stuff, and we thought we had the mullet locked in pretty good, but he or she came down, and we just need to get her back up. But you know, we had a meeting with David on the 5th, and then we replied to that meeting after our executive board got together on the 11th, and stated that we wanted to have further discussions. We're pretty sensitive about our lease. There's been times in the past when that people have tried to take it away from us, and again, we're pretty sensitive about it. There are a couple clauses in it that gives both of us heartburn. And that has to do with nonprofit buildings and us moving the building. We've already moved it once and got it on a good foundation and off the road.
Can you bring it in, John?
Well, yeah.
Buzzer went off.
Pardon me?
The buzzer went off.
Yeah, just
a buzzer went off? Okay.
Bring it in.
All right. So anyway, what we would like to do is have the opportunity to sit down with David without a bunch of pressure. We met again last Friday, and we're putting together some talking points to get together with David on. And frankly, this tonight was a little bit of a surprise to us, because we thought we were doing exactly what we needed to do. Because of the $37,000 we've spent, we obviously want to figure out a way to defray some of those costs. We don't make a bunch of money. So it's in everybody's best interest for us to get together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate, the agenda item is titled Request Board Approval to Schedule and Advertise a Public Hearing to Consider an Ordinance Amending Section blah, blah, blah of the County Code regarding special events involving use, possession, consumption, purchase, suspension, sale, and offer of alcohol beverages. That's what that item's about, not the chamber. I know it's in there.
Right.
That's what
That's right.
That's what this item is for, is to advertise to hold a public hearing in the future. That's it. Not who's good and who's bad.
Right. But they are an affected party, so.
I understand.
Yeah.
But this is just to advertise to even hold the public.
Right. Next, Miss Laura Phillips. Okay.
Go to the next one, right?
Jessica, you want to come on down?
I was just finding out if I need to add to verify that this is done correct.
Okay.
We trust you.
Trust you. Okay. That ends our speakers. So we have a motion to advertise, so it will come back to a public hearing, so we have time for John and David and anyone on the board there to get together and see if we can iron that out. Hopefully we can.
And just, if I might, Mr. Chairman, Heather kind of explained what the issue, just very, very briefly, problem with they were left out of the group or the building that could sell alcohol for what reason? Because of the county can't control?
Well, there's quite a few, but the biggest thing is the lease is the problem.
Okay.
And there has to be some changes to that lease in order for us to be able to move forward.
That's
with
why
that.
they're even involved.
And I think we're there.
Okay.
It's just we just got to come together.
I just want people to understand why.
I think we're both in agreement, but I think they misunderstood what we wanted. And when I saw, we're not going to change the lease at that point in time, I said, well, I got to move on to something else. So
So you don't anticipate anything that's going to put the chamber in an inferior position on
no,
the
not at
lease
all. I
than they
think
are?
it's still the same. It's going to be the same deal pretty much that we presented because it was exactly what John was representing. So other than a couple of other changes, but it's still at the end of the day, the length of the lease and all that stuff, and the protections can be there.
So
Yeah, we'll be glad to.
adding the court at a later date as we move forward here will not slow down the process.
No, sir.
Now, as long as, we just can't drag out forever, which I think maybe one, maybe two more meetings and we ought to be done. If it takes longer than that, we got a bigger problem, so.
Okay.
Move on.
So we got a motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right. Item number 10, I just didn't want this to slide through on the consent. I want to tell Summer, good job on that.
Good job, Summer.
Summer has brought this back. This regards Family Enclave, and she's reducing the fees, and basically the fees and the red tape tremendously, and she's taking it in-house and handling it there. So certainly serves our citizens well, and I just want to tell you thank you for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion?
Good job, Summers.
Any citizens on that? Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Yes.
All right, that ends our consent agenda.
Summers.
We will go to general business, item number 12.
This agenda item requests board approval to waive the procurement ordinance and award the proposal of a new mini excavator to Vermeer Southeast and approve to purchase an equipment trailer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Citizens? Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Summer?
Number 13.
Yes, this is a request for the board's approval regarding an application for code enforcement lien reduction pertaining to case number CE 2010-97 for property located at 909 Spring Creek Highway.
Move option 2, which is to reduce it to the hard cost of $2,036.46 with the condition that be paid within 60 days.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any citizens? Further discussion?
So we're not going to add the extra 20%?
We talked about that. For the $400, I'd rather wait till it's actually on the books, and we're not being arbitrary in this case. Once we change the actual ordinance, then it'll be 20% from here on out. But I
Okay.
don't want them to say, why did you treat me different than the last person? You know what I mean? Once it's on the books, then we treat everybody the same.
Okay, I can accept that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next, we'll go into public hearing. Item 14 has been tabled. Planning and zoning, item 15.
Yes, this is an application for final plat FP 1706 for the Moore Commercial Subdivision.
Jerry,
In
you wanna make a
accordance,
motion on this one?
hold on, please.
I jumped the gun too.
In accordance with Section 24.01 of the County Code, you need to disclose any contact you may have received from interested parties or their representatives or lobbyists regarding this application. Commissioner Stewart.
None other than what I've seen here. This is it.
I recluse myself from this vote.
Okay, you want to explain the nature of your conflict, just for the record?
Yeah. Oh, well, I own the property.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
I'm the subsequent owner. My LLC owns the property.
And there's a form to fill out if you have not already. You can get that from the clerk. Commissioner Thomas?
No contact.
Commissioner Hess?
None.
None.
None. Okay, anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Summer?
Yes, this is a request for a final plat for a 3-lot commercial subdivision located on the east side of Crawfordville Highway and south of Mike Stewart
To
Drive.
approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any citizens? Okay. Further discussion?
Well, I'm just, Mr. Brown, as you move forward with this, there's some really nice old growth longleaf on this tract, and I'm hoping you work those into your landscaping as well as you can.
Yes, there's no specific development plan for any of these lots at this time, but we'll go through the plan process, plan review process.
I just don't want them cut before before you come forward like that.
This doesn't give authority to cut anything down, right? Final plat approval, does it?
No, it does not.
Only a site plan approval,
Correct.
although some people do it anyway.
And we're not rezoning.
Google
so
Car
they're
Wash, just-
staying the same. Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Before we go on, I neglected to introduce Miss Amanda Daughtry with Representative Halsey Bashir's office.
Welcome.
Would you like to speak to us or just here to join us? Tell the representative we appreciate his representation and all he does for us.
Tell Halsey we said hey.
Item number 13, general business.
This is an application for final plat FP 1707 for Brookhaven, which is a residential subdivision. In accordance with section 24.01 of the code, each commission member needs to disclose any ex parte. Commissioner Stewart?
None.
Commissioner Moore?
He's filling out a form.
None.
None.
I think I did talk to Robbie about this,
Okay.
not directly, but
All right, anyone here is going to provide any information on this application, including the applicant. If you're going to answer questions, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
motion to approve.
I would just like to add something here on this final plat. A little bit of oversight. I would recommend that the board approve this with the condition that an easement be granted in favor of the county for that portion of the existing maintained right-of-way of Wakulla Aaron Road within the boundaries of the subject property. I have discussed this with the property owner and applicant, and he is agreeable.
I'll modify my motion then to reflect that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any citizens? Further discussion? Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. That ends our planning and zoning. We'll go into commissioner agenda items. Commissioner Hess.
Yes. I have a proposal here to request board approval of the proposal from the Apalachicola Regional Planning Council to update the impact study for areas related to parks and recreation and library services. Now, typically impact fees are assessed to recover the cost of additional public facilities, which are only needed when new families are added to the community. These fees ensure that existing citizens do not bear the cost of providing these facilities for newcomers. Impact fees also ensure that new facilities can be constructed in a timely manner and the backlog does not develop. Impact fees for recreation and library services can only be used for new facilities for recreation and library services to accommodate new growth. Numerous studies have documented the fact that new growth does not pay for itself with property taxes. Without this alternative means for paying for growth's effect on our recreation and library services, we either shift the burden of growth costs onto the backs of our current residents or create deficits where services stagnate or decline. Subpar services will require current citizens' quality of life to decline. So, to me, what all this is a study to determine how much we can charge, given that as new citizens are coming in, we are impacting our recreation and our library services. And hopefully we can move forward and find out how much we can achieve with this fee to promote building things like our Northern Recreational Park and other facilities in the county. And that's my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Is anybody gonna second it? Because I brought this up last time and it failed, 3-2, so
Well, you can second.
I don't wanna waste anybody's time if nobody's gonna vote for it.
I don't know that you're gonna waste anybody's time, Randy. If you feel obligated
I'll
to
second it for
second
discussion.
it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. We have two citizens, Mr. Eugene Watkins.
Good to see you guys again. Eugene Watkins, Crawfordville, Florida. I support the impact fee on new residential development. Impact fees could provide additional revenue for our library and much-needed recreation facilities without increasing taxes on existing citizens. Residential growth without impact fees would put these costs on current residents or even create financial deficit for the county. And I've been a citizen of the county for 35 years, and I can tell you, I've seen my taxes go up, and I've seen new taxes in the last 35 years. And if we would have had some impact fees, I may have not seen these new taxes. So please fund the study and required impact fee study for new residential units for recreational and library services. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bob Danzy.
Hello, my name is Bob Danzy, and I live at 43 Janet Drive in Crawfordville. I like kids and I like books, but I don't like taxes, and I don't care what you call it. It's tax. So, I have two things to say about it. First of all, as a realtor, I watch the market, and I know that we're not through building on the lots that banks sold at sometimes 90% or 10% of the value, 90% reduction of value. Until we start to developers start to buy land and develop, and that cost is accepted as this is what our houses cost. In other words, till things finish balancing out. I don't think that this is a good idea because it still puts, well, ever what it comes to, if it's $500 or if it's $5,000, it still puts that tax on a person buying a new house. Now the second thing is it doesn't just affect people coming in, because my daughter and son-in-law are in the process at this point of building a house. Now they've not pulled permits, they're not there, but in the very near future that's going to happen, and they're going to have to pay whatever this is. So it's not just for new people. Again, at the end of the day, it's a tax, and when people buy new houses, their taxes reflect what that house's value is, and they do pay more than people that's been living here, because your taxes, if it's homesteaded, can only go up 3% a year. And it holds that down, and the people that have been living here, living in the same place, well, they're not paying what their house is actually worth now, so they're getting that benefit. But if you get a new house, you're going to pay a tax. And you're going to pay more taxes if you build a new house, you're going to pay what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. David Damon.
David Damon, Crawfordville. Commissioners, I just heard what Bob Danzy said, and I respect that and understand what he's trying to say. But think about this. Do the math. Say his kids are going to be getting a new house in the next year, and they have to pay this user fee, right? They pay it once. It's an impact fee. But they're going to live there for 30 years, and rather than subsidize the other of thousands of new people moving into the county, they will have paid it one time. Otherwise, if no one's paying that, then you're just subsidizing all the new development that's coming into the county. And think of all the revenue that is then lost. They will have paid theirs, and the quality of life that's lost, because that money will not be available to put into Parks and Rec or into the new library. I mean, we're getting ready to do the new library, I guess, and that's going to be a big expense. Consider that. this is a user fee. I mean, it just makes sense. And this argument, well, you know, if I buy another house, then I'll have to pay it again. People don't change houses that often. When you change a vehicle, you don't go in there and tell them at the tag office, well, I already bought a car in this county, so I shouldn't have to ever pay this again. That's just not the way it works. I mean, you're moving into a nicer house, you're going to pay, and it's a user fee. And it contributes to the quality of life. We have a better library. The value of the home that his kids now have is worth more because the library is better, the rec park is better, and the rec park could use the money. I'm on Parks and Rec, and I can tell you, you know, they do a lot with what they've got, but they could use some help, and the same with the library. They're doing a tremendous job at the library. Both groups could use the added revenue, so look at it like a user fee, and it's for those that are coming into the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That ends our citizens. Further discussion from the board.
Well, you guys remember I brought this up several months ago when it failed to pass. And the only way I would support actually doing an impact fee if it was a low amount, maybe say $50 for Parks and Rec and $50 for library. My only thinking was just a source for extra money. I talked to most of the builders I know, because I know most. I talked to the guy that was sitting there, Robbie. He said they don't have a problem paying like a $100 impact fee. We come in and try to charge them $5,000, something like that. And then they got real heartburn. I talked to Pafford, who's the biggest builder in the county right now, Gene Cutchins, several builders about it. And nobody had any problem paying a small impact fee. Now, if their study comes back and says $1,000, ain't no way I'm going to adopt that. All the study does is justify the maximum you can do. You can do any point from that all the way down to zero, which we've done zero.
Right.
So, you know, I don't have a problem I don't want to do a road impact fee or a courthouse impact fee, but I can see justifying spend a little bit more money on Parks and Rec, which is the kids, and spending a little bit more money on the library. Other than that, no. So what I would support maybe is $100 or so total impact fee, $50. I'm just throwing this out there, $50 for Parks and Rec, $50 for library. That's not going to shut down construction.
Yeah, but we're not at that point. We have to have the study before we can consider it. And so that's
I just wanted to throw a shot across the bow that if, again, they come back with some number, now we all know how it works. If they come back with some big number, I'm not going to support that number because I know a lot of people. You remember the old impact fee? Well, the study says you need to do $10,000, and we got made out to be hoodwinking everybody because we didn't adopt the $10,000. That's not what the study is for. It's to show the maximum that you can justify.
Well, maximum, and what basically the study shows what the people in the county have already owned in our impact in our Parks and Rec department, okay, and how much they're currently paying, and there's a differential there, and it ends up being. I mean, for the last one's like $250.
If you read the actual math, though, the actual math they use, I can make that number whatever I want it to be. It's all. There's so many assumptions in there.
And that's why you have.
You
the
understand
study.
what I'm saying?
Okay, yes.
But we got to have the study to justify it, right, Heather? We can't just say let's reinstate a $50 impact fee, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of state statutes on impact fees, but there is one that says you have to have costs based upon the most recent localized data.
So, again, I wouldn't mind a small one, but if you guys are not going to support it, let's not waste the money on this study.
How long is the study good for were we to do it today?
I mean, there's not a set time limit in the statute. You know, your old study obviously is pretty out of date, so this one would be good for several years, I would think.
What's the old one dated? 2000 what?
I don't know. 2006 maybe?
I think it was around 2006
I'd
or
say
2007.
5 or 6 years. It's probably valid. And the only thing you got to worry about, Mike, is if somebody challenges it. If nobody challenges it, who cares how old it is? Right, Heather?
Yeah, you don't have to update it too. I mean, if you're at the maximum and pushing the maximum up, then obviously you need to be more cognizant so that you're making sure that your numbers are accurate. But if you're talking about, you know, if you get a study back that says you have a maximum of a $500 per dwelling unit impact fee and you impose $50, you've got a lot of latitude within there. So your study should last you for some time.
I'm not going to have any sore feelings if it doesn't pass. I mean, I brought it up before, but it's not a major issue for me.
And I think we can also get a part of the impact fee is get a spreadsheet that we can update on a regular basis to show how, as it changes over time, so we can make sure we keep our current into the future. Just, what our impact fee would be, not what we're charging, but what we can justify.
Am I thinking, again, was
One
Parks
thing-
and Rec, a library, or something easy to spend small amounts of money on to increase capacity? It could be playground equipment, it could be a new computer station at the library, because you can only use the money for capacity increase. That's why it's so hard to spend it on corrections or the sheriff's office, but it would be relatively easy to spend small amounts of money at either the rec or the library.
Especially when you're planning on building a new.
One thing you get into is you add one little fee here, you add one little fee there, you add a little tax here, you increase the tax there. The solution for all this is to keep the government low. Don't spend money. Keep your budget lean and mean. I just ran into an impact fee. I've got other properties in other places, and I've got tenants that can't go into commercial businesses because of the impact fee. And every time the tenant makes changes, the next tenant's got to pay another impact fee.
This wouldn't apply to any
I
commercial.
This wouldn't apply to commercial at all.
I know, but there's just one step from here to there to there to there.
Yeah, but if you're going to go that route, Jerry, their impact fees are basically a tax on a fee for what you're getting from our county. If you don't do this, then all of a sudden your ad valorem taxes have to pay the same price because you want to build that new park. We're still going to have to pay for that new park. Bingo, you're going to have to pay for it with ad valorem taxes.
I wouldn't get fatalistic about it. I mean,
Most
if you don't
likely-
pass this, the fight's still going to go on.
Most likely when the park is built, my suggestion would be take it to the voters and let them vote on it. If the voters want it, fine. But I made a promise to the citizens in 2010 that I would not vote for any tax. And I don't change that promise.
But this is not a tax paid by current citizens. This is a tax paid by newcomers.
My dad paid it. Lived here his whole life. He paid it.
I can't vote for this
Part of the
myself.
house.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you right now of a young
I assume your
military
dad
veteran-
sold his old house.
Yeah, he got divorced from my stepmama. They didn't cause any more impact on the county. I can tell you of a veteran who recently came back home and he built a house, and so this would be his reward for coming back home as he gets to pay because someone's telling him he's impacting. Here's what I don't like. This study, and I appreciate you willing to do it, and it's a good price. You know what the study doesn't do? The study doesn't tell us if the newcomer is paying his fair share. It doesn't do that. All it says is what's the maximum. We can look all day long at where the needs are. We know Parks and Rec needs more money. We know the library needs more money. We need the road department. That's just a given fact. That's a part of the equation. The missing part of the equation is whether or not the newcomer, you call them, and they're not always newcomers, but whether or not they're paying their fair share. I've studied this several times, and I'm sure I'm not surprising anyone to let you guys know that I'm not gonna support this tonight. 100% of the time, every time I've studied it, I have shown it's just a natural fact. The people that are buying and building new homes are paying more than their neighbor. They're paying more than their fair share. I had a conversation this weekend, and I said, well, let's look at your house, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I pulled up his house on his road, the road I used to live on as well, so I know most of his neighbors, and I knew that there was one house on his road that was built newer than his. And so here's what I found with this gentleman here. He built his house, his neighbor, same road, same access to county government, infrastructure, built his house 5 years later. Person number one, his house is 21% larger than his neighbor. Same road. His neighbor, since 2009, has paid $2,582.12 more in impact fees than this other gentleman. How do I look at that man and say you're not paying your fair share when you're paying $2,500 more since 2009 than your neighbor who built only 5 years earlier?
And there's more extreme examples. I know someone that just bought a $600,000 house on Surf Road. I guarantee you he's paying 3 times what his neighbors are that have been there 20 or 30 years, but he has the same access to resources and infrastructure. If we were in a perfect world where everybody paid their fair share, I would agree with you that we could assess that. But that's just not the case. The system that we have now rewards people, and we like the fact that when we stay in our house, we get that 3% cap, and it rewards us. But it also means that the new people, it's not that they're not paying their fair share. They're subsidizing the rest of us. They're paying more than their fair share. And time again, when I look at the numbers, that's what the numbers show me.
Without getting too deep in the weeds, I agree with you 100%. I think new growth pays for itself. That may be a shock, and I'm not saying I'll go along with this because I think new growth doesn't pay for it. I know it more than pays for itself. Actually, if you add up 1 cent sales tax they pay and all this other stuff, to me, this is just another way to get a little extra money into Parks and Rec and the library that's not going to hurt growth or anything like that. If it doesn't pass, fine. I got no problem. That's all it was on my side.
Heather,
I'm not making a philosophical argument.
Could we exempt current residents of Wakulla County from paying an impact fee? No.
All right, let me weigh in. We talked a little bit about it today. How many new upstarts did we have last year?
I think the total was 243.
And 243 times, let's say your $100 figure. What is that? That raises $24,000.
I just did it.
It's $300, 24.3, something like that. That's what this would raise.
Right.
Now, here's where I'm at. I'm kind of in a quandary here because I have studied this thing and I know what I have said on the campaign trail, but I also am trying to be realistic and understand that this as growth ebbs and flows. Here's the bottom line: developers are required when they build a subdivision to put in all the infrastructure. They put in the sewer, the water, the roads, all the stuff that goes with it, and it connects to our roads that exist now. Now, that's good for the immediate right now. But as time goes on, they begin to wear those other roads that they connect to down. There's more traffic congestion. There's more requirement for fire, police, EMTs. The whole, I mean, they require and desire and demand that we have more parks and recreation. So I'm caught in the middle here, and I think I wish we could use the old impact fee study and not have to pay for a new one. If you said we could do that, I'd say let's look at that, and then if we can agree that we charge $50 or $100, I'm fine with that. But if we don't do an impact fee at some point, I don't know that now's the right time. I'm saying let's get the study and then let's talk about maybe we keep it at 0 until because that's up to us to manage that.
Right.
The 5 of us need to manage how we're going to pay for the new growth. And that's one of the jobs the citizens have put on us, and I think we've got to work at that, and we've got to have the revenue to be able to do that. Now, I'm not for just raising money so we can have it in a fund to spend. This is a good thing because it goes into a fund that can only be spent on what it's raised for. That's the only thing good about it. But I tried to weigh out the pros and the cons to it. I'm fine with going ahead with the study. It's $3,900. That's in my book. That's a lot of money. But is it worth it? That later down the road, I think we're going to need an impact fee study because we're going to have to do something about the growth. When they 4-lane this road out here, guys, it's going to bust open here, and we're going to have to find every means we can to keep up with the growth, and our infrastructure is going to suffer if we don't do that. Every time somebody hooks onto the sewer, Randy, you know this, and all of you know this, every time somebody hooks onto the sewer, that's more demand on the sewer that the rest of us, the whole, has to pay to be able to build that facility bigger. How many millions of dollars are we spending right now to upgrade the facility? 10 million. Guess what? It comes from somewhere. Now, we've been fortunate, we've got grants, but that's still taxpayer money in the big scheme of things.
Have to do it again in a few years.
And I agree, this is a tax. I will not deny that. That's the truth. This is a tax, okay? But it's and I thought about the fact that newcomers, opposed to people who are here, if my daughter wanted to come here and build a house, she'd end up paying for it. I understand that. And if I wanted to get out of my house and build a new house, I'd end up paying for it. I understand that concept. I think it's fine to go ahead with the study, but I'm not so sure that I'm gonna jump on the wagon to do a impact fee until, and we're gonna have to weigh that out, guys, but we need to have that tool available to us. That's all I'm saying. Let's make the tool available to us. If we don't need it, we just keep it at zero, but if we need it, we have it. That's where.
Well, let's just wait until we need it. It's not that it's going to take 2 years to do. If at some point in time we're not operating in our budget, then basically at that time we may need to look at see how we can raise more money. But at today's date, we're not in a need to raise more money. We have a plus balance in our account, so we don't need to raise any money today.
But I'm of the philosophy that if you prepare early, you don't have to fumble around later and try to figure out how to do it. I'm fine either way. I mean, I would like to see the study be done. I wish we could use the old study and not have to spend this money to do another one. I think that's foolish to
I hate studies that cost money.
I agree.
Are there capital needs that aren't being met? I mean, I know there's capital needs, but are there things that really need to be in the Parks and Rec that 1 cent sales tax is not, and if we did this, could we use that 1 cent sales tax money somewhere else instead of using it on Parks and Rec or the library, for example?
Well, as I've told a couple of you today that ask us about is, could we always use more money? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my problem.
But I think at the end of the day, it's something that we've got a good plan moving forward. And what scares me is the 4-lane of 319, and because I don't think people realize the impact it will have. But the good news is, from our standpoint, we're a healthy government. And we're managing our 1 cent sales tax the way it should be managed. We're putting infrastructure in. We have grants for the sewer system that you're talking about. And at the end of the day, I'll use that a lot.
Yes, you do.
The impact fees are good to have, but also, and I'm used to them from being in a development business, and $100 would be nothing. That'd be like hallelujah time, like around Atlanta or whatever. But it's like I told y'all, we're going to survive with or without them, and so it really is. It'd be nice to have, but the problem is that I have with them is we spent. I know I speak for them and I'll speak against them. They're not easy to spend. They are tough, and now if we were going to finance say a new ballpark, and that's what we wanted to do, or we were going to finance the library with part of this, yes, I would agree to that. But
you can't do that with $24,000 a year.
Well, and that's the other side.
You just can't do it.
And the other side of it is, if you're not going to approve more than $100 a year, then that gets to where
now you got $24,000 a year. We're going to divide it halfway with the library. You can't.
I'm sorry, that really confused y'all, but that's where we are. We're kind of neutral.
Let me make it real easy. I'll withdraw my second.
So the point I'm seeing is that as we go forward and have to build a new recreation park, we're going to need one of the ways to get grants is have money for matching those grants, and this gives us a fund for matching those grants to move forward. And so when we have a chance to build that recreation park, we can do it.
With all due respect, we're going to raise $24,000.
Well, if it's set at 100,
whatever.
And if we build at 243.
Yeah. There's more permits this year, so now
there's more permits coming forward, and this is
now. Of course, you're going to divide that between the library. That's $12,000.
It builds up over time, Jerry.
Yeah, and that's 10 years down the road. You're going to only have $120,000 on a $5 million rec park.
10 years down the road, I have a $250,000 on the 5-year.
Then you're going to have to raise the impact fee.
No, if it's 25, if we get.
Yeah, but you're splitting that with the library.
We haven't come up with a total yet, Jerry. We don't know what it's going to be. We can make the decision to have a $100 recreation impact fee and nothing for the library. That's a decision that's later on. That's not a decision we're making.
I told the people I would never raise taxes as long as I was in office, and I stick by that.
Well, I've got lots more I could say, but we lost our second. So
Mike wants a second.
Do we have a second?
I supported it before, so I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not going to fall on a sword for it. It was a way to get some extra money for Parks and
I
Rec
think it's
Library.
going to come back. I think we're going to have to deal with this in the future. Maybe not now, but eventually we're going to have to do it, and I think it's going to be a time when there's going to be a right time to have impact
But
fees.
just-
I don't know that right now is it. I think if it came back, we got this study done, I think I would right away say, let's set it at zero. That's just how I feel right now, that where we are in the progression of trying to get the economy going again. That's why we did this. I was on the board when we did away with it before, and that's exactly why we did it. I did a lot of research today. Counties all over the state and country did it for that reason. They put them to zero because they wanted to try to jumpstart the economy.
And
So,
I'm sorry, very briefly, if you look, and I did this when I looked at, remember when I was on the board, I looked at the impact fee. I revised it to study back when I first got elected.
Yes.
If you do a present worth calculation for what a new residence pays in 1 cent sales tax over a 10 or 12-year period, it's a huge amount of money, just assuming they shop in Crawfordville, not all of it, but some, and gas tax money, and that's why I was against the impact fees. Now, the one that stuck out to me that they pay the least for was Parks and Rec and the library, but with the 1 cent sales tax being revised, the percentages, I think growth pays for itself, I really do. And I know that some people
I think
don't
it
agree
does.
with that.
I think it does immediately, and I think you can probably survive for a while. And I think that's where we are right now. We see growth coming. We see these builders, starting to pull building permits and businesses, and so I think there's a time for it in the future, but not now. And I think we need to probably wait. But I'm fine with doing the study. But you withdrawn your second. Let's just idle along, and it's going to come. It's going to come.
The studies have been done, and property tax revenues don't pay for themselves, don't pay for the
Agreed.
added cost. And so,
Look, if we didn't have the 1
1 cent
cent,
sales tax, I thought we passed 1 cent sales tax to enhance our services, not to just tread water and stay where we're at. And that's why I was supporting 1 cent sales tax, so we could enhance our recreation department. But if we do go forward this way, all we're using the 1 cent sales tax is to maintain current level of service.
No, that's not.
Well, let me address that, because we're not just staying where we're at. Last year, we cut our millage rate by 0.25, but we benefited from new growth that came into the county, and so we pulled more money in, and appreciation of values. Home values are almost to where they were at the peak before the crash. So that's coming back. So we've got a natural growth that's coming, that's bringing in more tax revenue naturally. We cut our millage by 0.25. The state has cut hundreds of millions of dollars in the last 3 years. The federal government has just cut our federal income tax, and now, you and Mayor Gillum in Tallahassee are saying let's raise taxes. I just don't see that. I think that's the wrong direction to go in.
That's running for governor.
And it's not a matter of the $100 or $500, adding that to the price of a house. That's insignificant. My problem is it is a fact. The person buying the new house, 9 times out of 10 or higher, is paying more than his neighbors are. How can we look at that person and say, we know, the math tells us, we know you're paying more than your fair share, more than your average citizens, but we got an opportunity tax that we can just extract a little bit more out of you. That's like I call it a vulture tax. We're just picking more meat off their bones because we can, not because they're not paying their fair share. What I would like to see is, if you bring this back, bring back some numbers to prove and show that the newcomers are not paying their fair share, because I think you'll find what I found on 3 different times that I've done this, they are paying, and they're paying more than their fair share, and they're subsidizing what's already here. And so, like I said, in a perfect world where everyone's paying the same and paying their fair share, I could support it, and I could go along with you. But our property tax system is a terrible system, and it's not our system, it's the state system. But it is unfair, and it penalizes the new people coming in buying at a higher value. So I just can't in good conscience say, I know you're paying more, but I want more from you.
David, are 1 cent sales tax not being used to help pay for the new library?
if we got that, yeah, we would have to have one.
1 cent sales tax be used to pay for new rec park? I just wanted to
It
clarify the point.
It helped pay
1
for the
cent
new fire station.
The 1 cent sales tax is funding expanding growth, not just status quo.
And if we didn't have the 1 cent sales tax, guys, we would have to really consider something, probably in the max, whatever the amount is. But I'm of the opinion
and it wouldn't even be enough. The max wouldn't even be enough.
It's going to be a time when we're going to have to address this again and probably do an impact fee. I don't think it's now, but
We have a budget surplus right now. As long as we keep a budget surplus, we probably do not need to do this. this impact fee stuff just came home to me this week. I've got tenants in a county that's run terribly, and all they do is just keep adding impact fees. They have an impact fee on every tenant that comes into the building. Every time the tenant changes, they have an impact fee on the new tenant. And it's because, I don't want to get into why it's happening that way, but it's because the county is run so terribly that and we have, tonight, we have a blank check on the county property. On your property, we have a blank check. We can here vote anything basically that the three of us would want to vote, and it's a blank check on your house. And I'm just not going to be party to that.
Well, I'll probably be kicked out of the County Managers Association for not supporting them.
Sir? What'd you say?
I said I'll probably be kicked out of the County Managers Association by not supporting them, in fact.
Good news is they don't write any checks to you, so you'll be okay. Do we have a second on it? Not at this time. Motion fails for lack of second. So that ends our commissioner agenda items. County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brief announcement for the board. On this Friday at 9 a.m., the Local Government Committee is going to be taking comment on a constitutional revision, proposal number 95, which would end home rule as you know it right now in Florida if it's passed. I think Chairman Thomas can chime in here too, because I believe he's going to provide some testimony against it. But if this is something that concerns you, and I would think that it would, I can circulate contact information for the CRC members who are also accepting comment by email. And if you want to go on Friday, by all means, we can get you the information and get you up there.
Absolutely. Basically what it does is it ends our ability to regulate labor, commerce, trade, and it doesn't really define the extent of what that means for anything, any entity outside of our border. So if, I'm not going to use a company name. If any company wants to come here and relocate to our county and they say, well, I would do that, but your sign ordinance is going to interfere with my commerce. I want a larger sign instead of a smaller sign, then we would now be in violation and would not have the ability to have local regulations if this passes that addresses that.
You would not be able to have the conversation that y'all just had.
Yeah.
That conversation would take place in Tallahassee.
Tallahassee, that's right. So instead of coming to us and changing the sign ordinance, we'd have to go to Tallahassee for a special statute to specifically address that business's needs.
Or if you wanted your impact fee, that's commerce.
It's pretty broad, especially when you look at how the courts around the nation have interpreted commerce. It's a very broad definition of commerce. It could affect zoning, animal control, local landscape regulations, local sign regulations. So instead of if one of your community leaders or one of your interested community groups had a problem they wanted you to address, they wouldn't be able to come to you anymore. They'd have to go up to Tallahassee.
The whole wetlands thing came from interstate commerce, so that's commerce stretches as far as wetlands.
So it's a pretty I think it's probably more far-reaching than the super preemption bill that was proposed last year. And this is something that would go in the Constitution if it gets out of CRC and makes it on the ballot. So it's something to be watchful of and to be concerned about.
And if you feel so inclined, come testify and make sure they count us. Heather testified against House Bill 17 last year, and she had a really good visual. She brought the law books for local statutes prior to home rule. And I don't remember, it was a pretty good stack of statutes. And then the next year, the state adopted home rule, and that went away, and local governments and city governments started handling that on our own. And so that's what we're going to be back to. They're only in session 60 days a year. So when we have to deal with local issues related to commerce, trade, and labor, they're going to have to go to Tallahassee, everyone, not just our county, everyone, and fight through that 60-day session.
And keep almost everything that y'all talk about is
almost
affects commerce, trade.
You can certainly make that claim.
You can make that claim.
And the Florida legislature, unlike you all, doesn't have a mandatory public comment statute that applies to them. Sunshine law is not applied to them. So all of the transparency regulations and the laws that you guys have in place don't apply up there, which would make it very hard for your average citizens that you all serve to be heard and have their concerns met.
You're saying don't vote for it?
Huh?
You're saying don't vote for it if it's on the ballot?
If it makes it on the ballot, no, absolutely, I would say don't vote for it. But you guys have a strong voice as commissioners that you could exercise up there if you chose to, and Friday is one opportunity.
I talked to the Florida Association of Counties today, and this is the all hands on deck.
Is this in the House?
This is the
What's
big,
Halsey's position?
no, this is on the Constitution Revision Committee,
Oh,
Commission, sorry. And so, yeah, so I don't know that I mean, this bypasses the legislature. And it affects statutes of the legislature. It'll tie their hands as well. Yeah, so this is all hands on deck with the Florida Association of Counties. This is the big battle before them at this session right now.
Time to earn your paycheck.
Yeah. County Administrator.
Well, let's change the subject. Let's talk trash. We held our, Manette, we held our first annual 2018 Litter Summit, and Miss Manette Watts is going to give us a briefing as to what happened in the meeting and our next steps.
Is she the litter queen?
Pick of the litter.
I'm sure I've been called worse.
Pick of the litter.
Trash?
Garbage queen. Commissioners, after our last meeting and y'all expressed your concern, as was our concern as well, about the state of our roads with so much litter on it, we called a meeting from as many different departments as we could for last Friday. And while we had staff, of course, the Sheriff's Office came, as well as Sheriff Miller, Waste Pro came, Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, and ESG Public Works was there. So we joined together not to point fingers, but to say, what can we all do to make this better? Everybody acknowledges it's a problem, but what can we do to go forward? And so we talked it over, and we came up with these directives that the Sheriff's Office will continue what they're doing right now in using inmate labor to pick up approximately 7 miles of road 7 days a week. That's tremendous. That's both sides of the road, front and back. 7 miles, that's a lot daily. They've agreed to be on the lookout for vehicles with unsecured debris, and that they're going to begin issuing citations for that. We have an ordinance for it. They're going to enforce it. They're going to help with education via their message boards as well as the Facebook. And Deputy Sparty has agreed to volunteer a Saturday at the landfill to meet the people that are coming in there and discuss with them any unsecure loads and how to make sure that those are secure. So we appreciate all of that. Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, Steve Cushman was there. He's agreed to get with Heather to work on rewriting the litter ordinance that would include higher fines as well as mandatory community service. Get them where it hurts for littering. He's also agreed to step up the efforts in getting more businesses, homeowners associations, and citizens involved in their Adopt a Road program. They're going to work toward getting litter control education to high school students. And they're going to approach fast food restaurants about providing trash bins for the drive-through customers. And lastly, they will begin making quarterly presentations to you to report pickup trends and posting on their website to let you know how we're improving in this area. Waste Pro definitely stepped up to the plate as well and has agreed to put out quarterly notices in the local newspaper. You should see your first one in there this week that will include information to help reduce litter, such as bagging all garbage, putting lightweight recycling materials on the bottom and of the totes to keep litter from blowing out.
Is it going to tell them what services are available to the citizens?
Yes.
Like couches can be
Yes.
picked up, mattresses?
Yes, I've seen their article that's going in the paper, and it is big, and it has all that information, and they agreed to put something new and fresh quarterly. They're also working with their employees to provide better education about reducing the amount of litter during collections, and they're going to hand out notices to the residents using the landfill, informing them of what the laws are. ESG Public Works has a long time been picking up debris that's on the side of the roads. That debris that's not your normal residential debris, but couches, refrigerators, tires. They've been picking those up all along. They'll continue doing that, and they're also going to track the amount that they pick up. The staff is going to add a page to our website to provide citizens with any changes in their pickup schedules. It'll be under Public Works, Solid Waste, and Waste Pro, where citizens can learn to go to look about holiday changes in their pickup service and any other pertinent information. We're going to work at including any Waste Pro notices with any billing that goes out of our offices. Just sewer alone, we can touch 3,000 residents. We're going to work with all the public offices to put the Waste Pro flyers out, trying to get it in as many hands as possible. Again, it's all about education. And staff is also going to work with seeing if we can get Wakulla Correctional Institute to help with pickup as well. And lastly, we're going to work together to try to find, everybody will remember this, Randy, especially community solid waste amnesty days. And this would be where Waste Pro would come and put out some bins in different communities, like in Anacea.
Very popular.
Yep, very popular. So we've got to find funding for that, but they're willing to work with us on that. We're looking at possibly fiscal year 18-19 using some of our solid waste grant to pay for that, something that would easily pay for that. We're also working with Waste Pro on the feasibility of providing covered carts for recycling. We'll bring back more information on that in the future. And lastly, we did discuss that instead of meeting, this being a yearly summit, that we're going to try to meet quarterly, at least while this is such an issue, and bring you back quarterly updates.
What about C&D haulers? Did you reach out to Marpan or any of them guys?
Cleve did.
Was Larry Lasser or one of his people there?
Nope, none of them.
Are you putting anything in the newspaper, just a little column that says the landfill is open from Saturdays from 9 to 12?
No, sir. It should be included in their quarterly notices. We're going to have it on our webpage.
Yeah.
Well, the issue comes with who will pay for that.
Yeah, that's a Waste Pro thing. We got to talk to Waste Pro.
I think he's talking about what the existing hours are.
But you're saying they're going to run a quarterly ad, though, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe
Well, I
that
think
can be included.
y'all should reach out to the C&D haulers too, because a lot of the stuff I see is vinyl siding and house wrap, and that's not coming out of the garbage truck. That's coming out of the top of a roll-off.
And I think a lot of that will be addressed with Loretta and the notices.
They did not make the meeting, but they said they would support anything Wakulla County did.
Larry's from here in Hampshire.
I've got a couple of guys I talked to who live in the county, so they said they would support this problem, and I've got their email address and their contact information as we go forward.
And I talked to Calvert too about their long haul semi. They have their open top, making sure the tarp's in good shape, because if it's not tarped right, it's going to blow out.
I agree.
And a lot of the C&D containers too, they got that little roll off, you know what I'm talking about, the roll net, but
Yes.
if you stack it 5 feet higher in the container than it's supposed to be, that net doesn't do anything for the garbage on the side, so.
I attended the summit, as did Commissioner Hess, and it was great. I mean, the cooperation we had there is encouraging, but it can't stop there. One of the things that was interesting to me was that the Sheriff's Department said they picked up 41 tons of trash last year off the sides of the road.
Sheriff's Department with Keep Wakulla County Beautiful.
Yeah, 41 tons, folks. That's over 80,000 pounds of trash, and that's not from Waste Pro. It's from us, the citizens. I mean, I drive behind people. I have been guilty of it. Stuff blowing out of the back of my pickup truck. I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Well, I mean, and it's wrong, and I know that. So I'm admitting it, but I'm just saying that there are other citizens out there doing the same thing. I see people rolling their windows down and throwing trash out. When I was in our ROTC program, we cleaned 5 miles of road. We'd be cleaning it. The school bus would come by, and the kids would be pitching stuff out the windows of the bus. They'd come by in their cars. They thought it was funny. Well, the fact is, we live here. This is our county. And if we can't take a little pride in how it looks on the sides of the road, then you know, we're probably living in the wrong place. And they're filthy. Every road in this county is covered with trash.
Not
It's an
Lonnie Ricker.
embarrassment.
You know how lazy I am. I actually got out there and picked up trash on the side of Lonnie Ricker in front of my
We'll
house.
put a sign up that
I
says
got
it's got
3
your name
full
on it.
bags of trash just from my house to out to 319 on this.
I want to encourage folks to sign up to be an adopt a road person. If you got a business, if you don't have anything else to do with free time, go get a sign. They'll put it up for you. These guys will help you do that, and they'll even pick it up. You pick up the trash, put it by the sign that has your name on it. They'll come get it. They said they would do that.
I was at an intersection the other day, and a person decided they would empty their ashtray. So the person opened the door, shook the ashtray in the ground, and I just sort of tooted my horn a little bit, and she shot me a bird and just drove off.
I'm assuming you're not.
The person shot me a bird.
I've seen people in parking, this is in Tallahassee, in the parking lot of a store, dump ice in their cooler in the park and just take the ice bag and throw it over the shoulder. Well, you know, that's somebody else's problem now. I don't want that.
That's one of the common problems in Panacea, right there where the ice is dispensed. The other issue, because a lot of this is the boaters. You come in off the water, and your boat, you have all the trash in your boat. You just don't think about it until you take off, and it blows it right out. So we need to have something to remind the boaters as they're leaving their boat ramp to
That's a good
secure their
idea.
load.
Maybe a sign at our boat ramps.
Yep, we talked about that, yeah.
Maybe reach out to Chuck Shields, I'm sure he's...
There's a lot of stuff comes on bottom. They come off the boat ramp.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, I think I mentioned it last meeting. Somebody came off the boat ramp, and good equipment was blowing off, and a good step stool blowed off at my driveway, which I appreciate. But anyway, they put it in Facebook the next day. Did anybody find this, and this? They evidently set it on top of the car and just drove off.
Thank you, Nanette. Appreciate the update. All right, unless y'all got any more questions on that, I'm gonna move to the next item.
The only thing is, things improving with the bear cans now? Is that better? Are the calls down and?
The calls are definitely down,
Yeah.
definitely down.
Yeah.
We're done with it, done with it.
They're not
Done with the program?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
We've depleted all the funds and all the cans and,
correct.
okay,
Okay.
thanks.
To let you know, the fire union negotiations were completed as we thought, and it's gone back to their membership for them to vote on the contract. And then it'll come back to you guys, which will probably be the second meeting in February. It'll come back to you guys for a discussion and approval or denial.
Just roughly, if you don't mind, you don't have to tell me, but how much money we had to spend on this
I
unionizing thing?
can't tell you right now. I don't
It's
know.
a large sum of money, though, isn't it?
I can't tell you. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't. I looked at it a while back, but it's enough to
Make you pause.
That's the reason that I stepped in the middle of it.
We wouldn't need it in
So,
that speed.
I stepped into the middle of it, and we got it shook,
Back as part of the agenda item.
and we got it shook loose. So, and it saved us a bunch of money.
Have we paid off the courthouse yet? Has that loan paid off?
Brandy, this year, yeah.
I think it was going to pay off in June or something.
Yeah.
217,000.
Yes, sir.
See, there's 217,000. It's gonna. That could be a gift for whoever.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
not.
Yep, you're right. So anyway, that'll be coming to you guys, and we'll be briefing you on that, and we'll have to have possibly some special session or something like that to discuss some details. We're looking at a plan to install floating walkways and gangway at Rock Landing to help rent the slips, and Bob Danzy and Cody Sahlberg, they talked about it last week, and so we're going to be moving forward with that. The problem is just, as you know, we only have about 400 projects. It seems like it's going on, and we got to find the money for it. But I think that would help by dredging those slips, as well as putting the problem is you could rent the slip now, but it is a problem to get on and off, especially with smaller boats. So if we put a floating dock in there, then what our hope would be is to rent it to primarily the oystermen. So it'd be a good thing. So we're looking into that, seeing getting the cost of that, and seeing how we can stick that in there and make sure it makes sense.
I don't think, Bob, would you come up to the microphone? I don't think we have a problem with the slips that we've got being too shallow. It's the blowout when they're loading and unloading the boats. They're blowing up a roll
The
of...
dock's so high.
And this-
Well, the dock's so high that especially a small boat can't get up there and leave his
Well,
boat
that's...
tied up.
That may be true, too.
Because they built that concrete dock, it's great, but it's up higher than high tides.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you just can't use it to get on a
Dock your boat
pontoon
at
boat.
high water every time,
Maybe,
maybe okay.
but it'd still be tough.
Yeah, I understand that.
The last will work.
Yeah, so we're looking at some improvements there, and that
Thank y'all for
we'll
that.
cater to the hopefully the oysterman is a bit as an industry and all other naturally anybody can get it, but still it seems
Yeah,
to be
and for what it's worth, I know those slips have been there a long time, and they're hardly ever rented, and we can rent them. We'll use them, but we only have small boats because we have to get to shallow water.
well, and big boats will be able to use this as well.
And they can use them, sure. Thank you.
What's your solution for that, though?
We're going to put what
A
we're looking at
walkway?
is a floating dock, 4-foot floating dock walkway all the way down to where you just back your boat or head your boat into it and tie up on it.
And then come up on the main
Up
walkway?
and then you ramp up onto the main
Yeah,
walkway.
yeah.
Finger dock.
Yeah. Right, kind
In
of.
the meanwhile, until you get that, though, we all looked at it. I think everybody's down there looking at it. In the very low tide, a lot of props are hitting everything.
Yep.
Um,
And we've done some dredging. We've got more dredging to do. We realize we've got just so much boating fund dollars. We're stretching it all over.
Has Dallas Marshall called you about the stuff down there at low tide you can see?
Yeah.
I'm sure he
Yeah,
has.
we already knew all about that.
Mhm.
Can you put out, changing gears, can you put out about our meeting Thursday night?
Yeah, I've got that's on my list. Let's see. Thursday, that was that exact one. This Thursday at the community center at 6 o'clock, we're having a meeting of primarily the Magnolia Gardens residents to discuss sewer and road issues. I believe I've been keeping you guys up to date on a lot of those issues. This is just growing pains, if you may, but it's all positive stuff. But please, if you want to come.
I noticed today, I rode through down Tafflinger after we talked about the driveways, that email you got. I could see where a lot of people took their concrete driveway when Tafflinger got paved, and they put their own concrete out there to tie into it.
And we're going to tie into that. That will
No,
happen.
what I'm saying is,
Right.
Tafflinger's since been milled up. So
That's
there's
right.
no pavement there.
Whatever was
What
on
I'm saying
Tafflinger,
is,
that's right.
what I'm saying is, similar to the Wakulla Gardens situation, when their road got paved, they had a 5 or 6 foot gap between their concrete slab and the
Right.
asphalt, so they went out there at their own expense and tied the two together with
Exactly.
concrete. Most of it like sackcrete. It wasn't.
Exactly. And that's what we expect of others as well. Just like any other, it's just like any other subdivision that we have that you tie to the road. So anyway, that'll be Thursday at 6. The Medark Lift Station Abandonment Project hit the street this week. Last week. So hopefully we'll be about 30 days from now be rolling that into you guys to hopefully approve that contract.
Praise the Lord.
Pending it comes back where we need it to. Bob Miller Road is half cleared now, wouldn't you say, Cleve? About half cleared. So
Bob
we're
Miller or Dan Miller?
Buck Miller. I said Bob. Buck Miller. The prices for the lower bridge boat ramp improvement projects that came back higher than what we've got dollars, so we're looking at some re-engineering and change of scope, but value engineering.
Value engineering.
And so we'll be coming back. Hopefully we can get that skinny down to where we can afford that and get it to you guys.
When's that paving starting
The paving.
for that section of the road? Are you trying to tie it to the paving?
No,
so it's-
that's Upper Bridge.
Okay.
Upper Ridge, that'll occur over the next 60 days.
And that's all good?
That's all good. This is the actual taking the boat ramp out at Lower Bridge.
Okay, I
And
got
putting
you.
a steeper ramp.
I got you.
It just the way it was spec'd out and everything, it just came in way too much money.
Okay.
Sewer hookups in Wakulla Gardens, Unit 4 are to begin this week. Shell Point Beach improvements, the NERDA project begins this week, has already begun. Contractor's already mobilized.
Where they get the sand from?
They're getting it from Roberts and Roberts.
Tallahassee? Or the...
Oh, well,
267,
they're
yeah.
over in over there in Liberty County. Then let's see, Masha Sands improvements. We met with DEP last week, and those improvements are set to have everything bid out to where opening the day after Labor Day of this year, we'll start those improvements over there. And also, we're working on just to let you know, we'll be meeting this week with the transition team for the Tar Pine Airport. So that's all underway.
Martin Luther King Road scrap project, right?
Yes.
From where to where? Courthouse to Spring Creek Highway?
No. Spring Creek to 98.
So the other end?
Yes.
But we do need to do this end too. It's getting pretty
Yeah,
bad.
this end too, but that's the worst end.
Is it going to get widened?
Plus, we're going to put sewer down the middle of a section of it there in Wakulla Gardens.
I'm reading the sign that says that C.W. Roberts will be through the improvement in 98. Is that the bike trail?
Yes.
And he says early 98, early
2018.
218. So he'll be through with that stretch.
He should be. He's already putting asphalt down.
Yeah, I know. Then basically, will they start the stretch between?
There'll probably be a delay. There'll be a delay in that, probably a couple of years, but then they'll start it up.
Okay.
And the 4-lane on 319 is scheduled to start second quarter.
They're
here.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the bids are supposed to hit the street late February. Bid packages.
So we'll see.
April. I mean, we're going to start seeing work before that with utility problems.
Oh yeah.
But the actual road.
Yeah. And the agreement will be coming before you guys. Brandy, I'll be bringing it before you which will be a big one for DOT to pay for all that, the final agreement. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So we've got our, as you can see, we've got a lot going on. So. All right. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, citizens to be heard, number 2? None. Commissioner agenda or discussion?
A couple of y'all mentioned some three-way stop sign on an unmentioned road. I just wonder if everybody's going to bring it back as an agenda item like they said they would, Jerry.
Do that again.
A couple of y'all mentioned some multi-way stop signs on a road we have.
You were going to bring that back.
Somebody's going to bring it back as an agenda item. Just wanted a friendly reminder.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
Patty will remind Jerry that we promised an agenda item.
Yeah, City of Tallahassee gave an ability to pay 25% of your electric bill in the following month after these high electric bills you're going to have for the cold snap. And so I contacted Talquin, and they have a levelizing program so you can level out your bill, which is basically just about the same thing as City of Tallahassee is doing. So if you're a Talquin subscriber, your electricity, you might take advantage of that if the electric bills are too high.
Will they kind of average your yearly and have you pay a certain amount a month instead of it fluctuating? Interesting.
Keep it on the budget. I don't have anything to add.
Turn your heater on.
I have a job for you, Cleve.
Uh-oh.
I had a citizen ask the northwest corner of Martin Luther and Spring Creek of that intersection. If you could maybe clean off as much of our right-of-way there as you can on that corner, because I have 2 or 3 citizens say when they pull out there they can't see to the left.
Where Penny McKinney sign was.
Yeah.
That's,
Pardon?
that's the northeast corner.
Is it?
This is the northwest corner.
Talking about the northwest corner.
Not the Penny corner there.
Across the street.
You can do that on Friday afternoon, Cleve.
I saw it.
He knows what I mean by that.
They have a tractor sitting right across the street from it. So.
Yeah. My next item is an interesting item. We all hear about how senators and congressmen should be limited to 8-year term limits. I think there's probably a universal agreement on that somehow that it would be a good thing to eliminate the 30-year senators or congressmen from the deal. I think that same rule should probably come on down to, let's just say, county government. If it's good, it's sort of like if it's good enough for them, if the people think that's good enough for them, it probably should be good enough for us. And my proposal would be, so that we don't affect anybody on the board now, that we go to an 8-year term limit, unless you're moved out prior to that. But anybody on the board currently would serve as long as they can be elected. But after that, then we go to an...
do that.
Sir?
Heather just...
I doubt you could carve out. I don't think you could carve out the existing.
Jerry, this was actually considered by the County Charter Commission, and it was rejected. So it's not, I mean, it's something...
Also even rejected.
If you want to, next time we review the county charter, you can advocate for this, but that's where this is addressed.
It'd have to be a change in the county
Okay.
charter.
And when could that be changed? When's that?
Every 10 years?
Every 10 years, yeah.
Or if you're motivated like the Weapons people, you could get it on the...
Well,
No, I don't want to go out getting signatures.
I think it says it has to be done. I mean, you can review the charter earlier, but it has to be done every 10 years.
Yeah, so you could review it next meeting.
That was one of the proposals that
Charter
was
Review
discussed,
Committee.
but...
The Charter Review Committee does it. We don't do it. They they do a review and send it back to us.
And then it goes
Okay.
before the voters.
And then it goes before the voters. So there's a whole process there, and I don't think you want to do it for another 10 years. So,
But if he got the signatures, he can get it on the ballot, right?
yep, you can go out and get
So the Charter Review Committee makes the decision on what comes before
I'd like to
us.
see it.
No, it doesn't come before us at all. Whatever they approve goes before the voters.
Goes before the voters. And they can, if I'm understanding it right, the Charter Review Committee could put that on the ballot next time. It doesn't have, as Ralph says, it doesn't have to be a 10-year period.
Well,
We would have to appoint a Charter Review Committee. They would have to meet. They would have to do all their due diligence. There's a lot of steps going to it. I was on the last one, so it was a multiple-year process.
It doesn't take a lot of due diligence to say that a board member can only be elected for 2 terms.
I think it takes a simple majority for us to stand up a new charter review committee, right? If we wanted to do that.
I'm not doing that.
And, I
Just
wouldn't do it.
Well, you wouldn't have to vote for it, Randy.
No, I know. But they did vet that issue amongst, there was a lot of people on it. Chris Russell was on there, for example. They decided not to pursue it.
We had 15 people on the committee, and there was no real support for it in the committee.
Wow. The people, that's where it'd be good to have the people make the decision, because I think they're all interested in...
You get the signatures, you can put it on the ballot.
Yeah. Would you help me, Randy? No, I'm just kidding.
You'll sign one.
I'll sign one. I want to take away your right to vote.
I don't have anything.
Oh, should
All
adjourn.
right. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Well, that one went over like a lead balloon.
I wonder if
That one went over like a lead balloon.
It didn't go over.
It won't go bad. They might disappear.
Oh. I didn't get many.